Testing, testing.
Yeah, that, and I'm gonna get married, so.
Sarah, can we test your microphone?
Yes, testing, testing. Can you hear me? Oh, testing again. Testing, testing.
Marcy, we can't hear you now.
Can you hear me now? Testing.
Yes.
Okay, Sarah, one more
Yes.
time, I'm sorry.
Okay, testing, testing. Let me know if you can hear me.
There we go, thank you.
Perfect.
We'll be starting in just a few minutes.
Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, February 24th. There he is. Sorry about that. The Tuesday, February 24th Planning Commission meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and let's start with our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Connolly? Here. Commissioner Roden? Here. Commissioner Marlowe?
Here.
Commissioner Christensen?
Here.
Commissioner Neal?
Here.
Commissioner Kogler? Chairperson Covarrubias?
Here.
Record will reflect Commissioner Kogler is absent.
Staff introductions, please.
Marcy Reynoso and Jessica Ferguson, permit technicians.
Warren Frace, Community Development Director.
Sarah Lachlan with BBK, City Attorney.
Okay. Think we're good? Okay. All right, moving on then. Item E, are there any general public comments regarding matters not on the agenda? Seeing none in the audience. Marcy, anything?
No callers.
Thank you. Are there any agenda items proposed to be tabled or rescheduled?
There are none.
Okay. All right, let's then move on to our public hearing portion. Let's start with item number 1, Paso Robles Youth Arts Center. Staff.
Testing, testing. All right, good evening. Darcy Delgado, Associate Planner. I'll be providing the staff presentation for the Paso Robles Youth Arts Center expansion, which is located at 3201 Spring Street. All right, so as I said, this is located at Spring and 32nd. The property hosts the existing Paso Robles Youth Art Center. Sometimes I'll refer to it as PRIAC, so that's the acronym we may be using this evening. So the current land use designation is residential multifamily, 12 units to the acre. It's in the T4N zoning district. Of course, this is an existing facility that predates the specific plan's zoning district, but it is conditionally allowed in this zone. The existing site is about 0.62 acres, and the PRIAC owns the adjacent vacant lot, which you can see at that northeast corner, and that is about a 0.12 acre parcel. So the project request is a multi-phase renovation of the existing Youth Art Center. That would include about 4,800 square feet of new additions to support more classrooms and program space. Additionally, the project proposes frontage improvements, which would include new on-street angled parking, as well as architectural enhancements to the existing facility. In addition to this request, the applicant is asking for 2 modifications to the Uptown Town Center specific plan, including parking, and I will dive into both of these more, but there to be no new parking required for the proposed additions, and for a fence height modification for fencing in the front and street side yards in order to exceed the 3-foot height limit as set by the specific plan. So here's the site plan showing the existing configuration as well as the proposed. And I want to point out where the facility is adding the new additions. So you can see that the 2 smaller additions are essentially being carved out where there's existing landscaping and hardscaping, as well as the main front entrance. But the majority of the addition is in that northeast corner on that vacant lot. And that is going to support several new classrooms for their facility. We'll go back, actually. I think I have another slide to talk about it, but you can also see that currently on 32nd Street, there is no improved parking or designated parking. It's just, parallel parking, fit in where you can, but the proposal does include and the project is conditioned to provide 16 new angled parking stalls on 32nd Street. So that would be a big improvement. I think you can fit about 10 cars if they're all parallel parked right now. So, some increase in street parking. All right, so here is the existing versus the proposed floor plan, and I wanted to point out where the additions are and to highlight what the proposed uses are. So here, this is where there was more of that kind of a cutout along 32nd Street, and this is for proposed storage. They also have at the main entrance, they're gonna increase, bring that wall out and add a little bit larger of a waiting area for the facility. They're also going to be adding a piano room, a band room, dance room, and digital art room in that main addition. And then lastly, this is outdoor space. They're going to be fencing in a portion of their facility at the corner of 32nd and Spring for art, ceramic, and garden areas for the students. So here are some existing views just to familiarize yourselves with the site, taken from different angles of the property, and you can see there's that vacant portion in that top left corner. So on the right, you see standing at the intersection of Spring and 32nd. On the bottom, you see the back of the facility as well as the view into the parking lot. All right, so as part of the proposal, the applicant is requesting the additions, but also changing the articulation and massing of the facility, kind of revamping it and modernizing it. So you can see on the far right where is the main addition, but you can see there's also parapets added where they weren't there before throughout the building. In this view, you can also see a proposed 6-foot fence. This is gonna surround those outdoor amenities for the ceramics and garden areas for the students. And part of the request is for enhancing safety for the students as they're at this facility. Here's another angle looking at the larger addition taken from from Spring Street. Again, I'm not going to dive too much into the architecture. We do have the applicant's architect representing the applicant tonight if they want to discuss more on the architecture, but again, just more vertical lines, parapets, modernizing the architecture, and again, you can see that fencing in the background. Here's one more view, and this is from 32nd Street. I wanted to show this especially, well, there is the front entrance, but you can see the difference in some of the fencing on the left side of the screen. That is going to be a proposed 4-foot fence. I think it's to, if I recall correctly, to prevent public access to kind of back of house mechanical areas. But then you can see the 6-foot fence where the proposed outdoor classroom additions are proposed for the ceramics in the garden. Again, I'm not going to dive too much into the architecture just because we have the architect who can probably do it better justice than I can. But here's the colors and materials board. Throughout the entire facility, they are doing a pretty comprehensive update and integrating the materials so that it's comprehensive and not just, one addition in the corner where it kind of stands out. So I think that we can all appreciate that they've thought about where they're going to integrate these improvements for the existing facility, and then to make it fit in with the neighborhood as well, and not to stand out in a way that detracts from the neighborhood. As part of the project, the applicant will also be revamping their landscaping. We do have some new state law that requires unusable turf to be removed, and so along 32nd Street, they are proposing some cobblestone along that parkway strip where the parking is, but they will be continuing to maintain the street trees, so we'll have nice street trees along that frontage. As well as on Spring Street, we have 2 existing oak trees. The project does have several conditions of approval to protect and mitigate those oak trees during construction. There is no removal proposed. They're fully protected, and we have an arborist letter describing what efforts need to take place during construction. So those have been incorporated into the conditions of approval as well. Okay, so diving into the modifications request, the specific plan does say that on a case-by-case basis, in the event that compliance with the provisions of the code can be demonstrated to be physically infeasible for any reasonable type of development within any of the zones described in this chapter, the Planning Commission may, subject to development plan review, approve modified development standards upon a finding that the modified standards will not create a physical hazard or negative visual impact when viewed from a street or neighboring property. The Planning Commission may impose any conditions necessary to ensure that such a finding can be made. And so, as I said, there are 2 modifications being requested. The first we'll talk about is the fence height modification. In the specific plan, it is required for fences in the front and street side yard to be no taller than 3 feet. This provides visibility. It prevents, this walled-off appearance. And so it's a good standard to have. However, the specific plan has also been written to allow a modification to that standard when it's reasonable and it makes sense. And of course, with the findings. So they are proposing 4-foot and 6-foot tall fencing, as you can see on this in this rendering, that would be on the 32nd Street and Spring Street frontages. So the Planning Commission can make the following findings: that the proposed fencing is a decorative material that is attractive and complements the architecture of the building and does not create a negative visual impact. Further, that the fencing is set back from the public right-of-way and will not create a sight distance hazard for vehicles or pedestrians, even though it's a solid material. So next is the parking modification request. So just to kind of give a little bit of history, this project was approved over 20 years ago. I think the PRIAC was established in 1998. When the project was approved, way back when, there was a parking reduction that resulted in 23 on-site parking spaces. So there is a history of the city working with the PRIAC facility to support a reduced number of parking spaces based on their operations and just the community benefit of having the free youth services. Currently, with their request for the expansion, the specific plan would require 12 new spaces to be provided, which is based on the 1 space per 400 square feet of new floor area. The applicant is requesting a modification, and so the Planning Commission can approve a modified development standard for parking, which would be 0 spaces per 400 square feet of new floor area, resulting in 0 new parking just for the addition. So therefore, it would be, they would continue to have 23 existing parking spaces moving forward. As I mentioned, they are conditioned, they were proposing to do on-site or on-street parking, and that is a condition of approval for the on-street parking. However, it is not for this project, it is a public benefit, so it will be available to any of the adjacent neighboring properties, and so it will not be just for Pryac, but it will be an enhancement, and certainly I think that the parents dropping their kids off would utilize it on a regular basis, if available. So the applicant has provided some justifications of why they feel the parking modification is justified here and to support Planning Commission making findings. So based on their operational characteristics, the primary users of the facility are children who are dropped off and later picked up by parents, which means that there is not a huge parking demand since the children are being dropped off. They report that there is an underutilization of the existing parking lot, reporting that the parking lot is primarily used by staff because most of the parents are dropping off at the main entrance on 32nd Street, with plenty of empty stalls during program and class hours. Further, there is no expansion to the theater. I'm not sure how often the theater does performances, but again, I think that the community has embraced this facility, and because the theater seating capacity is not increasing, staff does not anticipate a corresponding increase in peak parking demand that is associated with those performances when they host them. Lastly, there is a public benefit for the Planning Commission to consider the parking modification by being that the project is a community-serving facility. It offers much-needed youth services at no cost to the community. There is a public benefit to the facility expanding its free access to arts and not having to modify the project to make it infeasible that they can't do it if they otherwise had to provide the parking. Earlier today, I was able to go out on site. I don't know that any classes were occurring. It was about 2 p.m., but you can see that the parking lot is underutilized during the daytime, and the applicant may be able to offer a little bit more information on typical program hours and number of staff given the 23 existing parking spaces. Similar to the fence height modification findings, we also have parking modification findings. So the Planning Commission could approve the modification because the project is a reasonable type of development within the zoning district, and as it is conditionally permitted in the T4N zone. Further, the applicant has demonstrated that compliance with the parking ratio required under the specific plan for the project is physically infeasible, since they wouldn't be able to do the addition without this modification. Further, the project is a community-serving facility that would offer much-needed youth services at no cost to the community, and there's a public benefit to the facility expanding its free access to arts programs to the surrounding community. And lastly, the applicant's proposed modified parking ratio will not create a physical hazard or negative visual impact when viewed from a street or neighboring property. The project will not increase existing parking demand for the site based on the operational characteristics, as the use does not generate parking demand the same as other non-residential uses. Additionally, there is a reported underutilization of existing on-site parking. So this project is also exempt from environmental review, and I just wanted to include a slide as a Class 32 categorical exemption for infill development. I don't need to read all of these, but these are supported in the resolution, the findings that staff and Planning Commission would have provided to Planning Commission to make findings that this is not a project subject to CEQA based on this categorical exemption. So the Planning Commission has various options tonight. Number one would be to approve the project by adopting draft resolution based on findings and subject to conditions of approval. Number two would be to approve the project with modifications by amending and adopting draft resolution. Number three would be to refer this back to the Development Review Committee or staff for additional analysis. And then, of course, lastly, denying the project by adopting findings of denial. Staff does recommend that the Planning Commission go with option one, which would be to approve the project for the multi-phase renovation of the facility, which includes the construction of approximately 4,800 square feet of additional floor area, which is, again, to establish more classrooms and program space, as well as approving the two modifications for required parking and fence height by adopting the draft resolution PC 26XXX based on findings and subject to conditions of approval. And for your benefit, I have included lovely artwork provided by my son. If you have any questions about either his artwork or this presentation, I'm available to answer the questions.
Well done, Darcy. Did you say that the applicant wanted to say some things or not?
Yes, please.
Yes? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you want me to put it on a certain the site
Start
plan?
with the existing photos.
Existing photos?
Yeah. Evening.
Good evening.
Larry Gabriel, architect. We're at 106 Gateway, C1, Paso Robles. Just moved our office, so. Glad to be here, glad to talk about our project. Been working on this project since 2018, so some built-up energy to get this thing moving. So, a little embarrassed to say that the first 2 times I was here, I drove past it. So it sits deep under the oak trees over there, and it's green, and it's low, and it's not very flashy. And our driving force is to make this space read for what it actually does. So we're developing a new look to reflect the art, and the music, and the dance, and the learning centers that they do there at this specific location. And so this is, you jumped ahead of me here. That's all right. So I'll explain what we're doing here. So you've seen the floor plan that the white building is the dance room, and which is actually right now the dance room is the stage. So this is the dance room. It needs a high ceiling, and we've kind of reflected that in our portions of the building. Behind it is a music room and the band room, which is also needing some high ceiling and space. And next to it in the orange there is the, our digital art room. And on top of the digital art room hides all the mechanical equipment that's used there. So we created this tower feature, if you will, and kind of started that off and try to blend our building with this hip roof building that's been there for 25 years. The diagonal expansion joints that we have is kind of a repeat of a project we did over on 15th and Spring Street. They won't read quite as strong as they show on the rendering here, but it's a nice little treatment up there, which is an inexpensive way to get some texture in the building, and that's what we're proposing there. The white is to adjust for roof slopes and things to tie into that hip roof and kind of, again, break up that mass over there, so when I come flying by here, I'm not going to pass this thing, and hopefully nobody else will either. So in front, you're seeing our screen fence. There's 2 patios out there, one for the art room and one for the ceramic room, and then down the side is actually a garden, so they can grow their own vegetables. I've got it set up to look like a screen fence, although it's actually solid plywood painted black with slats put on it, so it looks like a shadow line in there that'll kind of read as a screen fence as opposed to a solid fence, but it's mainly there for security as much as anything else. So if we can go around the building, I guess. So this is coming down Spring Street, the north heading south, and this is maybe a little bit underplayed, but this is pretty simple. We have the desire to keep the windows high, to keep anybody from looking in to see the kids inside. So again, for a safety issue, so those windows are, I think the sill is 7 feet on those windows over there to keep it up, but get some daylight in that space as well. And then if you go around the other side, we repeated the tower element to define the entry a little bit better now that we've have these other elements. And so one of the first phases we're doing here, we've already completed a kitchen remodel. So there's a teaching kitchen that we've done first. The second thing we're going to do is bring out the entry 6 or 8 feet, I forget exactly what it is, but we'll bring that out and create a vestibule space. So you have to get, you can go into vestibule space, but you got to get buzzed in to get into the building. So again, another safety issue. We're going to follow that with the reception space and then a large unisex toilet facility. It'd be the next part of the remodel. And then the next phase after that, hopefully we have enough money together to do our addition, which would be the music and the band and the digital art room and the dance facility. And then follow that off with taking those spaces and revamping them to a ceramic and art room. And then the band, existing band room would be revamped into the new administration center. So maybe let's go back to that front view. One more, there you go. All right, so we're going to just kind of leave you with this, I guess. This is kind of the view that we'd like to show here. This is the image we'd like to present to really reflect what's going on inside. So I can be available for questions. We have other presenters that would like to talk as well, if that's fine. So, but anything you guys might have a question for?
Yeah, I think at this point, we'll keep it just to the applicant, and
Okay.
then we'll certainly open it up for any general public comment here shortly.
All right, perfect.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Okay, is applicant? Oh, okay, go ahead. Go ahead and state your name.
All right, my name's Barbie Wench. I'm the Executive Director at Paso Robles Youth Arts Center. For more than 25 years, we've provided affordable, high-quality arts education to youth across northern San Luis Obispo County. We serve children and teens ages 5 to 18 through programs in visual arts, music, dance, theater, media arts, and now culinary arts. But what we offer is more than classes. Every afternoon, our building becomes a safe, structured place where young people can go after school, a place where they are mentored by caring adults, surrounded by peers, and encouraged to explore who they are through their creativity. For many families, especially those working long or irregular hours, we are providing dependable after-school supervision and a positive environment during the hours when youth are most vulnerable to isolation or unsafe situations. We're serving more than 600 students annually from Paso Robles and surrounding areas. Most of our families fall below the county median income, and we intentionally keep our classes affordable. They were free. We now charge $15 for a class for an 8-week session. And we have full scholarships available for any student who needs them, no questions asked. What we see every day is that the arts do more than just teaching skills. They build confidence, they create connection, they help young people find their voice and their sense of purpose. Students who walk in shy and uncertain leave with the courage to perform on stage, share their artwork, or take on leadership roles. We are both an arts organization and a youth development resource. By providing structured, supportive programming during critical after-school hours, we strengthen protective factors that contribute to academic success, mental well-being, and long-term stability. As our community grows, so does the demand for what we provide. Our proposed expansion is simply about making sure we can continue serving local youth safely, effectively, and at the scale our community needs. It's about ensuring that this resource remains available to families for decades to come. Paso Robles Youth Arts is enriching lives through the arts. Thank you so much for your consideration on this matter.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this time to speak. My name is Crystal Langen, and I'm here tonight as a parent and a proud board member of PRIA. 3 years ago, when my family was deciding where to move, I researched communities all over the country, and the Youth Arts Center was one of the top 3 reasons why I picked Paso Robles. The day after we unloaded our moving truck, I walked into the center. Before our boxes were even unpacked, I knew we were home. My 3 children, who were 8, 11, and 13, have taken dozens and dozens of classes over the years, from improv to digital art, dance, drums, and my daughter's favorite was ukulele. Through those classes, I've met hundreds of children, seen many smiling faces in the hallways. I was there almost every day of the week. Everyone was as grateful as I am to have this space. The reach of the center is wide. It's not a small program, it's a cornerstone for families in the community. When my daughter entered her school talent show in 3rd grade, she performed her ukulele, and she became known as the ukulele girl at school. She felt confident, proud, and like she belonged. And for families starting over like we were, that kind of belonging is everything. It wasn't just my children who found community there, I did too. I'm honored now to serve on the board, and I want other families to experience what we have. I feel that the demand for this space is undeniable. Just this weekend, a class was filled in 6 minutes upon open registration. So we're just bursting at the seams over there. The project is thoughtfully expanding something that's already deeply woven into the community. The center is professionally run, managed, and already a respectful part of the Spring Street corridor. Approving this project means welcoming more children and more families. Praia helps weave together the cultural life of Paso Robles for our children, and the demand and community is simply growing. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Yeah, hang on. I think maybe, well, you're it? All right, go ahead.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Gene Runkle. I'm the Board Treasurer for Paso Robles Youth Arts and also the project manager for this project. You've heard about what we do, who we are, and some of the important things that we're looking for in this project. Child safety is number one. That's one of the main reasons that we want to do some of what we've talked about. Larry talked about the security of having the taller fence than what's in the guidelines. The pushing out the entry and being able to have a secure entrance where only those who are allowed to come in during the day are able to come in through a buzzed-in door. The single stall restroom situation where we don't have more than one child going into a bathroom situation where we can't see what's going on. So having that single stall, single toilet stall situation is vital to the safety. It's unfortunate that we have to design in this way, but given where we are in our world, this is what we have to do. The high windows, everything that we're doing with this expansion is to try to bring child safety to the forefront. One of the things that has not been talked about, except maybe very briefly, is on the parking on the street. With the angled parking stalls, what we'd like to request as well for, again, child safety is to allow us to mark through those stalls the ones closest to the front door, to mark those with signage, curb paint, whatever the case may be, to have a 15-minute parking for drop-off and pick-up Monday through Friday, 3 to 7. That's our operating hours. That's basically when we would have the parents dropping off their children. So if we could get that designated, then that would give us, again, having the kids be able to get out of the car, the door's right there, and be able to go right in the facility instead of having to come from down the street somewhere. Lastly, on the funding front, I want to clarify maybe something that some in the community might still believe, that this is a foundation that is, or an organization that is fully funded by a foundation. That is not true anymore. It was when it was initially founded back in 1998, 99 by Donna Berg and her family. At this stage, we're dependent on the community to fund this organization. The foundation, the Family Foundation, does still provide about 10% of our funding. The rest of it we have to go out and find. And that's no different for this project. As Larry alluded to, assuming that we can get all of the funding we need, we will be able to complete this. But I would like to ask the commissioners to take that into consideration when reviewing some of those items that we're being asked to do. Specifically, the lighting that has been put in as part of the conditional or condition of approval is going to be a very costly piece of this project. I would love to see it pulled out of the conditions of approval and maybe put into a separate agreement that we can negotiate where we can discuss it and come up with a good long-term solution for lighting on that block. I have a preliminary number, a budget number from our electrical engineer that's saying it's going to be somewhere in the, by the time all is said and done, somewhere in the six-figure number to get that lighting completed to all the specs. And I recognize the city can ask us for more, but I'm also asking that because we are a benefit to the city, the profit that we are going to gain out of our expansion in the facility is going to be borne out by the improvement in our youth. And I think that that's where we're hoping that the commissioners will help us out with that. So with that, I'll say thank you, appreciate your time tonight, and appreciate any questions you have. We're here to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene. Okay, let's go ahead and any questions for staff from the commission? Looking to my left. Commissioner Conley?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I understand that the use of the theater as far as the size of the theater is pretty much the same, and this will improve things. By the way, the project looks really nice. I'm just kind of wondering presently, when theater events do occur, how much of the parking is filled and other places are used, if there's overflow parking where that is, that type of thing, so that what I'm hearing is the parking situation probably won't change as far as the demand, but I'd like an understanding of how it is right now and what our obligation is to improve that.
Sure. So I did carry forward the conditions of approval from the original project. So in your staff report, there were two resolutions, one for the development plan originally from, I forget the year, late 90s, and then as well as the use permit. The establishment of the recreational facility allows periodic special events and performances, including evening events. The condition did not go on to specify where alternate parking would be. I think the community recognized that it would be absorbed in the surrounding neighborhood. I don't know how often the performances are held. We could ask the applicant that question. I just know I have not, myself and my colleagues are unaware of any complaints that are being generated from parking during those peak performance times. So again, I think it was looked at back in the late 90s as it would be absorbed by the surrounding neighborhood on a periodic occasion, but it was not clear, where are people parking.
Okay. So I understand that there's 23 on-site spaces before and 23 after. That doesn't change.
Correct.
But on-street will change from 10 to 16.
Give or take, I tried to count it, and it looks like you could fit 10 by today's standards just on that 32nd Street frontage. Certainly there's other on-street parking, even on Oak Street, and in close proximity there's crosswalks, but yes, they would be then getting 16, and there's a reason why it doesn't continue all the way up and down 32nd Street. There are some site distance issues at the corners, and so engineering has taken a look at this, and 16 is the max that you can fit at this time.
So following up on that, with regard to engineering reviewing this, with angled parking, it takes a little more width of the street cross-section. Have they looked at the additional width that's required for angled parking on the street?
I'm going to see if Dante would be willing to answer that question.
Yeah, so we have looked at the width, and it will support parallel parking on the south side of 32nd Street and angled parking on the north side. Ditas Esperanza, our capital improvements engineer, is actually redoing 32nd Street here this summer, and she's going to be restriping it with the angled and the parallel parking and the center line, so it's all going to get taken care of then.
And just a comment, I think it might be a good idea to have some spaces limited, time limited. I like that idea because it allows for more parking possibilities for dropping off kids, and may reduce the number of parking, or the demand for parking by doing that. So that's just a comment. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Conley. Commissioner Roden?
Thank you. Where is the light that the gentleman referenced of his concern?
Yeah, so part of the conditions, we had 3 lights proposed for the project. So 2 Cobra head street lights, which are kind of the taller lights that you see kind of over intersections that allow for pedestrians to be seen as they cross. And then 1 decorative acorn light, we call it the double acorn light, the decorative ones that are kind of smaller for pedestrian travel. So the acorn light was proposed at the bus stop, just for visibility and nighttime, people being able to be seen at the bus stop and pedestrians walking on the sidewalk.
Where's the bus stop in comparison?
So, right, Warren's hovering it over
Okay.
with the mouse. There's a current bus stop there used by the RTA for their, southbound route.
Are there no light, there aren't any lights there?
There's not a light there currently. Currently, there's 1 decorative double acorn light at the corner of the property in the north. It's like the northeast corner of the screen. Yeah, right there. That's the closest acorn light. There's a project that's going to come before Planning Commission here in the next couple months, Avalon Apartments to the north of this, that will continue those acorn lights north on Spring Street across their whole frontage as well. So we're kind of seeing it as a corridor enhancement, having those lights.
The 2 you're talking about, is it actually on the crosswalk?
Yeah, so then the Cobra
That
head
goes
lights
across Spring or goes across?
goes across
32nd?
Spring. So
Spring.
if you go ahead, yeah, right there at that crosswalk handicap ramp right there, that's where one of the Cobra headlights would go to the east to get pedestrians that were crossing Spring Street east to west. And then the other Cobra headlight would be at Oak and 32nd at that, that curb ramp there. And that would cast light for folks crossing Oak Street.
Okay. As far as the 15-minute parking, if you're dropping off children, depending on their age, you'd want to walk them in anyway. But the only thing I have a concern of with the 15-minute, if people may be backed up waiting for the 15-minute instead of just going ahead and parking further up the street or back. And they can still drop them off from the parking lot in the back, I think, correct? Oh, you don't have the entrance from that parking lot?
You don't want answers from the audience.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Sorry.
I'll
Staff. So, okay. The windows that are on the new addition are up high. I saw that, and that makes sense. Are there windows over on the other side too? Is there enough light coming into those rooms?
Yeah, there's existing windows throughout the facility. Where the new additions are, I'd have to take a look at the front elevation. But there are I was out at the site today. There are plenty of windows along 32nd Street frontage. I'm not recalling there being very many once you're in the parking lot, but 32nd and Spring Street, lots of windows, lots of fenestration, provides, good pedestrian atmosphere, even though they are raised up high.
The fencing out front, they show it as being separated, but I think I recall Larry saying that it's going to be a solid fence. Do we have any pictures or anything that show what that's going to, because it's going to be black versus the lighter tan color? I understand for protection, and I think that's a good idea.
I did not include the detail in the PowerPoint presentation. There is a detail in Exhibit C to Attachment 4, the project plans. I'm going to forget what page it is, page 52. And it shows the plywood with then the boards on either side. And I don't know the dimensions off the top of my head, but that is what Larry Gabriel was alluding to, that it is solid, but it gives the impression that it's a screen.
Gotcha,
fence.
I like that. Okay, so it's not all black. It's just the back, okay, gotcha. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Marlowe?
Well, just to continue on the lighting discussion, I understand the need for the lighting. I guess my question would be for staff is, what does that look like in terms of this being, it's a benefit to the public, and if they, I guess, is that something that would be, we're capable of doing or having a discussion about eliminating or reducing that or contributing to that in some sort of way, or making recommendations to city council for contributing? I'd just be curious what that looked like.
Well, certainly having the lighting would be orderly development, and this is new development, so we would like to see that continuation. If the Planning Commission wants to consider waiving certain requirements, I think that you have the ability to do that. I don't know if Dante has anything else to add in discussions with engineering, but that would be, certainly the applicant is welcome to ask the Planning Commission, and you can consider that tonight.
Great.
At the city council meeting last week, the council did authorize a public improvement project at this intersection. So I think our recommendation would leave the conditions as is, but I think we can kind of work with that city project on this corner, understanding the cost of lighting, and see if it's possible maybe that the city project might be able to take care of the lightings on at least Spring Street.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Neal?
Just a couple of quick questions. Do we actually have anybody that can enforce a 15-minute loading zone?
What was the first part?
Do we have anybody that can enforce that time constraint on the parking?
So the police department can enforce it. Right now, the parking enforcement has been disbanded, so there's not, a officer specifically, assigned to parking enforcement, but any officer could enforce it. So I think that would end up being like a white zone. We would have to, the city engineer would have to work with PD on that. They're, a little concerned, about creating these areas because that's not really what they, are in the business of doing right now. But that's something I think we can work, with the PD on and probably come up with a solution that's workable to everybody.
Good. And then probably unintentionally, I did notice that there was a storage unit taking up 2 of the parking spots in the back, which effectively reduces the existing parking to 21. I guess the question is, with this renovation, will there be enough storage within the building to remove that storage shed and open up all the spaces? Yes. And I see nodding heads, so.
Yes, my mic was off.
Nope. On the mic, please.
First things first, the shed is coming out. We need the parking stalls. Secondly, we're adding the prop storage room is going to take care of what's in the shed and everything else that needs to be added storage.
Thank you. And then my final comment, and not a question, I would be really adverse to taking out the lighting. Number one, for a safety issue for the students that are within the facility. And if we can tie it to a city project, that would be the best of all worlds. But I think I need to make a point that I believe we should keep the lighting requirement as is for the safety of the students.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Christensen?
Again, I was on DRC for this, so most of this isn't new to me. The lighting is, so I understand the cost for that. With that, Warren, you mentioned that the city might be able to consider working with the applicant to not, let's say, have it put in eventually, but eventually it would be there, whether the city helps offset some of that cost or not, or if we keep the conditions in, is that kind of what you're getting at? Is that like maybe the city would be willing to help offset part of that?
Yeah, I think what staff would recommend is leave the condition as is. We understand the costs, and we do have a project slated for this intersection where we're going to be redoing that corner to improve pedestrian safety. Lighting's typically part of that project, so I think there's a good opportunity for the city to take care of, some of the lighting issues on this corner, and if we take care of it, then that would relieve the project of taking care of it.
Or maybe even give them more time to take care of, the cost of that over the long run, even if the city has to carry the burden up front. I don't know, but that sounds like a good applicable solution. The one thing I was noticing is it does mention the discussion about the pedestrian warning signs, but it sounds like the city was already working towards that end anyway in that particular zone. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the council approved a project last week, and that's why we haven't been able to adjust it. It's
Oh, I
happening
understand.
fairly quickly. But we're going to now put a curb extension or a bulb out at this corner and across the street, just for the sake of improving pedestrian crossing safety. As part of that process, we're going to be looking at, lighting and other safety features, signage, that sort of stuff. That will all be included in the city project. And to the degree that's done by the city, then, that would relieve the project of having to do those.
So the warning sign anyway might become a moot point because the city's already doing the project?
I think those are the kind of things, as we develop the city project, we'll try to take care of as many of those items as possible.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I'm not trying to overcomplicate with the questions, but I'm just trying to get clarity on where they're going. Dante, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, so the traffic report that was done for this project, DETIS is going to be taking care of all the signing and striping that were identified in that project. It's just warning signs that it's a pedestrian crossing, not like the rapid flashing beacon signs. Warren's alluding to possibly with the bulb out extension, we might be adding the rapid flashing beacon signs here, but that hasn't been determined yet. So,
Great,
yeah.
okay.
But all the signing and striping that's recommended for the project will either be taken care of by our team or the applicant, so.
Okay,
As
I
part of the
get it.
conditions.
Thank you so much, and that would make sense why we want to leave the condition in. Maybe this council can address this, hopefully on their end. I think that's the only other questions I have of staff and the applicant right now.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, sir. Commissioner Neal?
So is that light condition contingent on them occupancy, building permit, or is it a condition just to show it on the plans?
If I recall correctly, it's in there and it's written in a way, to the city engineer's satisfaction, full and well knowing that we have the project being completed by the city. I think that at the point we're at, we were not recommending changing the condition phrasing because it does have some flexibility already built into it.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Darcy, just a quick question, just to be able to support the higher fencing in the front, just for clarity. Is the intent that there's going to be children on the other side of that fence at any given time playing or interacting, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so, but most of their programs take place late afternoon, early evening?
I'm going to say 3:30 to 6:30, and being that there's actual program space dedicated outdoors, the 6-foot fence provides enhanced safety. I believe where there's 4-foot fencing, there is no classroom area, and the applicant has said yes. So the 4-foot fence area, that's, I would say, pales in comparison to 6 feet, but it's still over 3 feet. Typically, when we're looking at the increased fence height, it's, is it creating a visibility issue for vehicles coming and people coming out of driveways and children on bikes. In this case, because the fence is pushed back, and it is really for a safety feature, and it's an attractive fencing, staff feels that Planning Commission can make the findings as presented in the presentation tonight.
Okay, I really appreciate that. All right, if I don't see any other questions at this time, we'll go ahead and move this then to public comment. If there's anybody in the audience that would like to make a comment on this project, feel free to do so at this time. Seeing none, Marcy, any callers?
No callers.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public portion of this, bring it back to the commission for final thoughts, questions, and/or emotion.
Just had a quick comment.
Commissioner Christensen.
I just wanted to make a comment. I was on DRC when we approved this. There have been some changes made, and I think they're really well done. The fencing was one of them. That was really bright colored fencing, and I think what you came up with for this fencing is appropriate, and I think it looks really good. Understand the need for the security, and I know parking's always an issue, but I do believe that the assistance of adding the diagonal parking is really going to make a difference. I go by that place quite often, and I got to tell you, the back parking lot is almost always empty. So I like the project, and I just wanted to say thank you for changing those plans.
I Appreciate that. Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments? I'll just make a quick comment that I was also on DRC, and I'm happy with the changes that were made from that meeting. I would also like to state, just so that it's of record, I understand the need for the timed parking. It certainly would be desirable. I just don't know how it can be enforced, and they certainly, because it's a public street, I just don't know if that's really something that we want to start creating on our public ways with timed parking like that in those residential areas, because the area is predominantly residential. Gene, did you want to make a comment about that? I'll allow that.
Yeah, real briefly, for those of you who may know or don't know, I was part of the Boys and Girls Club project over there on Oak Street. The city granted us that signage and paint curbing to allow for a loading zone, unloading zone, and that has worked out very well. It has not caused issues for the residents that have been made known to us, and it's been well received, I think, in the area to have that as a drop-off for parents and buses dropping off kids in that area. So I understand the concern, but I also think it can work, because I think people will see it and understand what we're doing, and they'll work with it.
Appreciate that, Gene. Just for clarity, the parking in front of the Boys and Girls Club is horizontal, not angled?
Yeah, it's all.
Okay, thank you. All right, with that said, any other questions, or I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Neal?
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir.
I'll second that.
I haven't even made it yet.
Thank you. I thought you were ready to get to it.
Attaboy, turn off his mic.
Back with you. Let's see. I would move approval of the project.
Is it mine?
Maybe. Move approval of the project for a multi-phase renovation of the existing Paso Robles Youth Arts Center facility, including construction of approximately 4,800 square feet of additional floor area to establish more classrooms, and approve modifications to required parking and fencing height by adopting draft resolution PC 26XXX based on findings and subject to conditions of approval.
We have a first by Commissioner Neal. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Christensen. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Neal?
Aye.
Commissioner Christensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Marlowe?
Aye.
Commissioner Roden?
Aye.
Commissioner Connolly?
Aye.
Chairperson Covarrubias?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you, congratulations. Marcy, thank you. All right, moving on then to item number 2, Allegretto Resort expansion. Staff presentation, please.
Excuse me a minute. Marcy, can you turn the mic up a little bit? We're being challenged over here on the ball side.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commissions, Darren Nash, City Planner. This is item 2 on the agenda tonight. It's the Allegretto Vineyard Resort expansion. Allegretto Resort is located out on Buena Vista Drive, out on Buena Vista and Dallins. So the up on the screen here, the dashed area is the existing 20-acre Allegretto Resort property. This is also showing property that we are looking at tonight. It's considered the Bowtie property. It's 10.8 acres of property that was surplus property from the college. So south of Dallins Drive there, the property owned by Cuesta College has been created as surplus. Ayers Resorts is looking at purchasing that and expanding the resort property. So the 10.8 acre piece has a land use designation, a zoning designation, and in the Borky area specific plan, which is this specific plan area out in this area, considers this property public facilities because it's historically been part of the college. In order for AIR's project to expand on this piece, we need to look at a zone change. So we're looking at a rezone from public facilities to parks and open space. We're looking at a general plan amendment from public facilities to parks and open space. And we're looking at a specific plan amendment from public facilities to parks and open space. And the zoning would include an overlay for resort lodging. So when all said and done, if approved by the Planning Commission with a recommendation to the council, the redesignations of this property would be public parks and open space with a resort lodging overlay. And that would then be consistent with the existing designations for the current 20-acre AIRS property. So the project before the Planning Commission tonight is it's all a request to the City Council, because this will need to go on to City Council. It would be a request for the general plan amendment, rezone, specific plan amendment, also the development plan and the conditional use permit to allow for the expansion of the resort facilities, site planning, operation onto this 10.8 acres. So in 2012, the Allegretto project was approved. And if you look over at that right-hand image, that was the exhibit where at the time that 20-acre piece was changed from R2, or multifamily, to parks and open space with resort lodging. So at that time, there was a general plan amendment, a rezone, a Borky specific plan amendment. All those things similar to what we're asking for tonight had to happen back in 2012 in order to accommodate the Allegretto Resort on that property. The other thing that was approved in 2012 was a mitigated negative declaration for the project that was reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission and the City Council. The expansion we're looking at tonight is the designations I explained, also the development plan and the use permit, which comes out to 172,000 square foot expansion to the existing resort. So the matrix here, which was in the staff report, kind of outlines the existing Allegretto resort area and then what's being expanded. And that's what this matrix is showing. Along with this project, on the environmental document side, was a traffic analysis, an updated air quality and greenhouse gas study, an upgraded biological and a cultural over this new property. So those studies helped us determine whether this expansion would be significant impact or whether we could rely on that original mitigated negative deck and amend it for this expansion project. So as I mentioned, we looked at the air quality study. Minor changes to the original mitigation measures, really just to bring it up to current standards and language regarding standard dust control measures. So no additional significant impacts for air quality on this expansion, just updating the language to get updated dust control measures. Biologically, if you look at the site, it's flat. There's really not a lot of biological resources there, native grasses. There are a few 2 oak trees, one near the road and the one back into the site. Worked with the applicants early on to design the project out of the critical root zone of both those trees. So on the oak tree protection side, the project has been designed around it, so no impacts there. Since 2012, the crotch bumblebee is a species that we have to study and do testing on. So that is in addition to the biological mitigations from 2012. So surveys were required. They've actually already done the surveys because there's a time of year that needs to happen. Those surveys have already been done for this project and they've come up negative. So that biological question has been answered there. And then greenhouse gas, there's some updated language regarding electrical vehicle charging spaces, signage, those kind of things, which are pretty standards for commercial projects now. And then on the transportation side, the environmental portion of the transportation impacts has to do with vehicle miles traveled. That is the CEQA question. Is this project going to create significant vehicle miles traveled? The city's traffic consultant reviewed the project, reviewed the 72,000 square feet, the matrix, the trips, and has indicated that in terms of vehicle miles traveled, this project is not a significant impact. So there's no new mitigation needed for the VMT criteria or the CEQA question. So there isn't any new mitigation necessary for the transportation. They did ask that the city place a condition of approval on the project that a transportation demand management plan be developed for when there's an event. This project includes a convention center, so when there's an event, how parking is all on site, parking is being provided, but as the events let out, how do those go to the different driveways, to the different streets, to the intersection? That transportation demand management plan can help with that. In terms of the Planning Commission's request tonight, we're looking at some findings here related to the mitigated negative declaration addendum. So we're looking through these findings, it kind of in a ballpark kind of goes through what I just mentioned about each of those and how they are not creating a new impact. These are all part of the resolution. We can go through one by one if you would like. We can come back to that. So on the project itself, you can see this site plan here is showing the existing facility, the existing resort, and it's also showing the additional buildings and activities here. So the colored areas are both the existing buildings, but then on the bow tie piece, and as you can see, it's on that 10.8 acres, but there's also some additional buildings, parking happening on the existing 20-acre site as well. So this is the program for that proposed project. This here as a list goes through the different buildings, the different uses. It also is showing the proposed phasing. So this is a phasing plan showing the convention center piece, phase one. There's the chapel is phase one, and then it gets into phase two. The applicant with their presentation can go a little bit further into those buildings and that phasing. So Aris Studio Architects, Mr. Jess, architect, is in the audience tonight. They've got a presentation where they're going to get more specific into the site planning, the buildings. This project went to the DRC. There were some suggestions from the DRC for the building design and orienting buildings more towards Dowlands Drive than just backing up to them. Site planning and phasing, colors and materials, landscaping. So part of that Aris presentation, we'll get into that. These are the options. The option before you tonight at number one is recommending the City Council approve the project by adopting Resolution A for the addendum to the M&D, adopting Resolution B, recommending City Council approve a general plan amendment and a specific plan amendment, Resolution C is for an ordinance related to the rezone and the overlay, and then D is for the development plan and the use permit. That would be option 1. Option 2 would be to amend or adopt those resolutions and recommend approval and any changes that the Planning Commission may propose tonight. Or D is to recommend the council approve the development plan, number 3 on the bottom is refer the project back to the DRC or staff for additional analysis. So those are the options. After the applicant's presentation, we can come back to these and then discuss them further. But with that concludes my initial intro into this project.
Thank you, Darren. Okay, would the applicant like to come on forward? Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, how are you? Go ahead and
Good.
state your name.
Thank you, Darren, for your presentation. I know Darren, my name is Douglas Ayers from the Allegretto Vineyard Resort, and happy to be here tonight to present this. I know I was asked to give a presentation, but my presentation will be very short. I will just simply ask members of the commission, do you have any questions or things that I can help answer? That way I'm not saying anything more than I need to right tonight. So.
Yeah, we'll as soon as the presentations are done, we'll go ahead and get into questions. And so if there's any questions that come up, we'll call you up.
Yep, great, thanks.
Thank you, Douglas.
Good evening. Tom Jess with Eris Studio Architects. Appreciate the opportunity to kind of walk you through the game plan and the approach that we're taking here with this expansion. This is a good slide to start with here. You can see the existing site plan. You can see the Allegretto Resort there and the vineyards behind it, and then the Bowtie property up above. Let me see if this is working. What's that? Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. Even better. Okay, so this kind of explains the area where we're proposing to expand towards the university, towards the college and up towards Dallins. If you can go to the next slide. This is the overall view. So the portion up in the upper left-hand, I'll walk through each portion, but I did want to touch on a couple things on the site plan that came out of the DRC hearing or the DRC meeting that we kind of made adjustments to. If you can go to the next slide. We had made the decision to, originally we had the canopy, the solar canopies with the solar panels out in the parking lot, and we decided to move them to the roof. So DRC suggested that we increase the number of trees and the landscaping within the parking area to provide that shade through a natural source. So we did that and added significant planters and trees throughout the parking lot to make sure that the parking lot is shaded. Next slide. We did have one wall that was a very tall wall there, so we brought that down to a more appropriate height at the suggestion of DRC, which we thought was a good suggestion there. Next one. And then there was some concern of the view into like the maintenance area and the storage area, so we added a dense screening in there to kind of conceal that area from the street. So that was an addition that we made in response to the DRC comments. Now what I'll do is I'll just walk you through a little bit of what we're proposing. So in this corner here is the conference center. It also has some outdoor activity areas like a pickleball courts and so forth over in this area here. If you can go to the next slide. So the conference center has two main ballrooms or gathering spaces. There's the Grand Salon, which is the larger one you see at the top, has an arcade, and it forms a kind of an L-shaped courtyard with the outdoor spaces, so the pre-function space can spill out into the covered walkways, and then the entrance is down at the bottom. There's a big grand kind of hallway area that connects the two, and then the one on the right is the smaller of the two banquet rooms. Each of them could be divided into smaller spaces within there. And then I just wanted to talk on, if you go to the next slide, sorry. Talk about the materials. There's a very strong architectural style and character to the resort, and we're going to be building off of that for the new building. So it's very similar materials. We'll have the lime plaster stucco, the clay tile roofs, the natural limestone, the railings will be black, and then there's a little view of that arborvitae that we're using for the dense screening up on the equipment area that we were proposing there. So here's an elevation, next slide please, of the conference center. You can see that it picks up on that architecture that's already the architectural style and character of the existing hotel. You can see the colonnaded walkways there where we bring them out. That does a couple things. It provides covered outdoor space for the guests and the people that are offered in the conference room, but it also breaks down the scale of the hotel to a much more human scale, of the building as you walk around. And then the tower element clearly identifies where the entry is. There's no confusion about that. If you can go to the next slide, please. If we want to this is the spa hotel. So the spa hotel is the next building. This is the 3-story building, and it includes a lot of amenity space and spa space on the ground floor. If you go to the next slide. So on the ground floor, we form a courtyard there. The entrance is through that colonnade on the left-hand side up to the lobby area. There's treatment rooms on the ground floor. There's outdoor pool. There's indoor pool. There's a cold plunge. There's all those types of spa amenities on the ground floor, as well as the hotel lobby and some kind of a gift shop area on the ground floor. And then the hotel rooms are the next slide, please. You can see the hotel rooms there form along that edge there, looking out into the courtyard. And then one more slide, just showing the 3rd floor, which is the hotel rooms following up. And then we can kind of see what this building looks like on the next slide. So this is the 3-story building. You can see in the foreground are the 1-story buildings that kind of form that courtyard. And we kept the 1-story buildings on the south side of the courtyard, so there's lots of natural light that's going to reach that courtyard. The 3-story buildings on the north side of the courtyard looking down into it. So the courtyard will be a nice light-filled place. The tower with the Allegretto logo on it on the top elevation is the entrance there. And then if you can just go to the next slide here. So this was another one of the cases, that middle elevation, that long elevation is the one facing Dallins. And this was one where we got some feedback from the DRC that it could use some life there and some more active. So if you go to the next slide, we can show you kind of how we modified that. So on that back elevation, we broke it up. Instead of it just being one long facade, we broke it up into bays and enlarged the windows to give a little bit more variety across there. You can kind of see the difference there between the two. And then if you can go to the next slide. Oh yeah, you can kind of see them side by side, what we did to kind of liven that side up. The Allegretta Hotel is another courtyard hotel. This is a 2-story hotel, and it's strictly hotel rooms. So if you can go to the next slide. This one you can see the entrance is right in the center there, and then there's the amenity spaces on the ground floor and the hotel rooms going around the outside. These are larger hotel rooms, larger balconies, kind of trying to hit the market in a lot of different areas. So we have standard hotels, we have these ones which are the larger hotel rooms, and then if you can go to the next slide, you can see the hotel rooms wrap all the way around, and then just one more slide will show you the kind of elevation. So this is the 2-story elevation. You can see, whereas on the conference center, we had the arcade that had the arches across it. This one, they're private balconies that do that, but it kind of mimics and mirrors that same kind of architecture, that same kind of character. And then the third one from the top, the long elevation facing Dallins, that kind of is the blanker of the ones. That was another one that we got feedback from the DRC that we should look at livening that one up. So if you can go to the next slide, you can see what changes we made there. So there we did a similar thing where we broke the elevation up, we added windows, made them larger, and added pediment trim around there, and then we added a Allegretta Hotel logo on the far right wall there to kind of balance that out a little bit there. So those were suggestions and recommendations that came from the DRC that incorporated into the planning package here. Yep. Okay. And then the piazza is a really fun space. It's an outdoor space. It has the piazza building, which is like a bar, restaurant area that's kind of forms one side of it, and then the Abbey forms the other side of the piazza. So we'll focus first on the little piazza building. You can see it forms the edge of that piazza. There's an outdoor bar area. There's a restaurant there that's going, or a kitchen that's going to serve the outdoor spaces and the functions that would happen there. And you can see the architecture once again picks, next slide please. Picks up that same character. And then the next building I believe is the Abbey, which is on the other side of that outdoor piazza. And the Abbey is exactly as it seems. So if you go to the next slide. It's an abbey in a very traditional form, and the architecture of this one's pretty unique because of what the space serves. So if you go to the next slide. This one is a stone abbey, has the asp on it, the clay tile roofs and so forth. So kind of a nice anchor to the piazza on the other side. And then I believe the next ones we're going to talk a little bit about some of the outbuildings. So what we're trying to do is make sure that everything has a place and everything fits into the architecture. So even the little outbuildings, which like the pool storage room or the restrooms at the pickleball courts, builds off of that same character. So if you can go to the next slide. So these are simple buildings, but we're still carrying that same character over to them. You can go to the next one. You can see we're still using the stone, the tile, the same wood trim details and so forth. So trying to make sure that that experience extends to all the buildings that we're proposing. And then I think the last thing we're going to talk about are the villas. So once again, trying to make sure that we capture the full range of the market with different products. The villas are more like almost residences. And if you go to the floor plan, which is the next slide, you'll see that they're fourplexes, but the way that they're orientated so that each one has a private entrance on all four sides. So it truly is four-sided. And then when you enter into the residence, it feels very much more private than if you had doors right next to each other. So kind of pinwheels around there. And these are just single-story structures. Yeah, next slide, please. You can see they have that same kind of architecture and character to them. And you can see how the entrances wrap around the different sides of the building. And with that, I'll conclude the presentation, but happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. Okay, let's go ahead and start with questions from the commission. I'll go ahead and start on my left. Commissioner Conley.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I was part of the DRC, and I'm very happy to see that a lot of the comments, were the half dozen or so things that you've done to address our concerns were done, and I think done very well. I like the project. It looks really nice. I think it adds to the Algretto architecture. It blends in well. I like the project. One thing that we brought up at the DRC, I don't know if it's been addressed, but at a future phase, there's going to be villas, and I'm just wondering if any more thought went into how that's going to be parceled out. Is there going to be separate parcels for those? How will those have individual ownership?
Yes, that was discussed at the DRC meeting. The request for you at this point is that there is no subdivision being proposed. The condition of approval with the development plan is that if in the future there is a request for some type of a subdivision condo plan, that it would have to come back to the Planning Commission. So there isn't any kind of entitlement or anything for any kind of separate ownership at this time.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Rudden?
Thank you. Just a couple of questions on the, what's the capacity for the proposed
Convention?
convention area?
I'll let architect answer that question?
I can't open mine. Never had that problem.
I don't have an exact number off of the top of my head, but just looking at it, it looks like it's going to be about 300 to 400 people.
Okay, is that for the larger room and the two separate rooms?
Correct.
All total?
Correct.
Okay, and how many units are in the stage 3, the condo-esque?
The villas, 24.
24, and there's 4,
There'd be 6 buildings with 4 each.
okay, 6 buildings, okay, 4 each. And are they all 2-bedroom?
I believe so,
Okay.
yeah.
I love the project. I think it's beautiful. I think you've
thank
done a great job, and DRC did a great job in adding corrections as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Marlowe?
Thank you. Just so I like to always clarify, the property that the hotel is currently on basically has had all the different conditions of approval you're asking for tonight done back in 2012, and it's just that upper piece that we're basically mirroring that with the change with the overlay, correct?
Correct. So all of the changes to the designations of the property are for the bow tie piece, the 10.8. The development plan goes into that 10.8, but then kind of spills into the existing 20 acres. So the conditions of approval and the development plan are for both.
Okay.
But there wouldn't be new conditions on the existing building, that kind
Yeah.
of thing, but just all the new construction.
New construction on the existing one that was changed, and then changing the overlay and zoning code for the bow tie section. All right, thank you. I just wanted to clarify.
Thank you, Commissioner. Questions to my right? Commissioner
I
Neal?
I was on DRC, and I seem to have peppered them with my comments already, so I think I'm good for now.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Christensen?
Just a question, Darren, a follow-up question to Commissioner Marlowe's question. So in this case, public facilities, would that be considered a downgrade in zoning to take it to planned open space? Is that something that would be common, or would that be considered?
I wouldn't consider it a downgrade, but obviously with the project leaving the campus of the college, which was the reason for the public facilities, it doesn't work with any other uses. So since the college isn't using that, it needs to be zoned something different than public facilities. This is an application for this particular zone based on this project.
Okay, and then with that in mind, can you take me back to the traffic? One of the previous slides, early slides, discussed, I think, the traffic report, and you had some comments on that. Can you go back to that for me? And give me your thoughts on that again. I think you were mentioning that they were talking about having an overlay that would require them for special events for the conference center, but maybe
Right.
you can elaborate a little bit more.
So a traffic analysis was done over that table that showed all the different uses, square footages, people, those kind of things, to determine if the expansion project was going to have a significant impact in relation to the vehicle miles traveled, which is the question that the environmental document asked for us to study. The traffic consultant came back saying, after modeling and doing the analysis on the vehicle miles traveled, that wasn't going to be a significant impact. So in terms of the mitigated negative declaration, the request to do an addendum, their reports complemented the request for the addendum, since they're not seeing an increase or the need for additional mitigation for traffic impacts. What they did say is that for the project itself, when taking in consideration the convention center, the hotel, the added activities, that a traffic demand management plan, which is kind of a manual for the operators of the facility, that during an event, they may determine that they want to park the convention center in separate parking lots and use separate exits or entrances. They may want to do some different things on site as that project fills in or the people leave. That plan would help determine that in terms of on-site circulation and getting people in and out of the site.
So it wouldn't basically affect off-site traffic, is what you're saying? It would just basically be mitigating the flow on-site?
Correct. If they didn't have that, it could affect that intersection if everybody tried to leave right at the exit next to Buena Vista and Downs. But if they may take one and take some out to Golden Hill or take some,
Right, so they would be controlling the traffic off-site just by controlling the ingress and egress on-site, is what you're saying?
Correct.
And having a plan for that?
And that management plan may ask for personnel, flagging, different things to help the flow of circulation.
Now, the plan, they would have to have a plan, but doesn't mean that they have to follow, they can choose to or not choose to follow the plan. It's just a suggestive plan, is that correct?
Well, it's a plan that they would have to provide to the city and
Okay.
get the city engineer involved with, and we'd probably even have it reviewed by that traffic consultant to make sure it meets the needs.
Okay.
And then once it's adopted, the city has the ability to question, is this happening or do we need to change things? But it
Okay.
becomes something that they need to follow.
So staff will come back and they'll see it again, and engineering will see it as well?
Correct.
Okay, thanks, that really helps clarify that, I appreciate that. As for the proposed phasing, is that something that, I didn't really see that would affect any of the conditions per se, but is there anything in there that we should be aware of with the phasing that may, put a burden on this project overall?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm sure if we look into the timing of some of the utilities, they may have coincide with the phasing. But in general, the phasing, I don't recall any specific conditions based on the phasing.
Yeah, I didn't really read much in there either. What came to mind was off-site requirements, if there were any that needed to be done, and I'm sure the city would mitigate that in comparison to when the phasing was requested.
Right, any kind of off-site or frontage improvements, that kind of thing. If we look into the civil engineering conditions of approval, I'm sure they go through and relate to phasing.
Okay, yeah, okay, thanks, Darren, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, seeing no other questions from the commissioners, we will go ahead and open it up then to public comment. If there's anybody in the audience that would like to make any comment regarding this project, go ahead and step up to the mic. Please state your name, and that little green light in front of you will go off, and when it goes red, you're done.
Oh, thank you. I get the boot. Hi, my name is Jennifer Miller. I'm actually a resident of Experimental Station Road. That buttons right up to Allegretto, which we love, and we get to look out under the beautiful vineyards. So I'm not, this is the first I've heard about the project, and so I was curious. So it sounds like a traffic plan is to be forthcoming, because I know there's already traffic on Buena Vista. Just me trying to cross from one side of Experimental to cross over Buena Vista to get to the other side, it's getting more and more difficult. So I would assume with 3 more hotels and lots of other amenities coming on board here to Allegretto, that I don't know if the street will need to be changed. I don't know if there's any plans for that, including traffic signals at either Experimental and Buena Vista or at, I don't know what the other, Dallins and Buena Vista as well. So those are just some of the things that are my concerns with the project. And that's it. The red light can go on now.
Thank you. Any other comment? Seeing none in the audience. Marcy, any callers?
No callers.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public portion of this, bring it back to the commission for further questions, comments, and/or a motion. Looking to my left, seeing no other comments. Commissioner Christensen.
Darren, could you address the last comments? Maybe I noticed you might have some feedback on that.
Yes, I'll give it a shot, and I believe the city engineer is online.
Yes, I'm online as well,
There she
Darren.
is. Here's Leslie Frazier, the city engineer.
Hi, good evening, Commissioners. Leslie Frazier, City Engineer. I can definitely address the public comment. As Darren mentioned, there was a traffic analysis performed where new vehicle trips were analyzed, and in particular, the new trips and impacts to the adjacent intersections. The intersection analysis included Buena Vista and Dallins, and also Buena Vista and Experimental Station. And through the analysis, it was determined that there was no intersection control that was needed, so there aren't any stop signs or traffic signals warranted. However, at the Buena Vista and Experimental Station intersection, the project is conditioned to construct a bulb out, which will provide enhanced pedestrian safety for crossing Experimental Station there.
Thank you. Just to follow up on that information, so back to what I was asking from Mr. Nash in regards to the plan, you guys, it sounds like they would have to come up with a plan, and then you guys would be reviewing that to see if it caused any other concerns or changes to the traffic study that you said that has already been reviewed. Is that kind of how I'm understanding that, Leslie?
Yeah, it does sound like in the conditions that there would be a TDMP plan provided, and we would continue to work with the applicant through that. Now, that appears to be more of a, temporary situation. The traffic analysis, as far as the intersections go, that has already been analyzed for the total vehicle trips anticipated for the project, and there has been no impact warranted for those intersections.
Yeah, I can follow up on that. Go ahead. Just a clarification on the traffic study. It said that the TMP, Transportation Management Plan, was required for events of 150 people or more. So I think that's when it would kick in. So that's when they'd have to do these sort of elevated demand management or traffic management.
Commissioner Christensen?
Yeah, and I was getting that as well too, but what I think I was getting at for the public was that essentially this might be a little bit of a moving part if the study, they have to come up with a plan, and then engineering and staff would be revisiting that along with the traffic study firm to make sure that it fit or didn't cause any other further issues with the traffic in that particular area. And that's just for the events, because I know that the conference center, if it can take 300 people, that's going to definitely change in one night how much traffic you're going to have within a, 1 block radius, 2 block radius. So that's what I was trying to get at, and I apologize for maybe being confusing with that, Leslie, is that the plan that they have to create for these events, that's something you guys are going to look at and make sure that it's not going to change any of the traffic study findings or cause any other further issues, is what I guess I'm, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. They would be required to submit the traffic management plan to us. And as Darren mentioned as well, we would have our traffic engineering consultants look at that, and they would be, they would be reviewing and approving the plan.
Okay, that I appreciate that. That helps clarify that for me, and I thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Marlowe, did you have a question?
Yeah, just staying on the traffic discussion, from what I'm understanding, the public comment was that, hey, it seems like there's already, I'm having a challenge driving around here, and based on the study that was done, well, even though regardless of events, they're adding, I don't know, how many hundreds of thousands of square feet of space and rooms and all that, it's the traffic study consultant's position that no upgrades and nothing's going to change in that all that extra amenities and space is going to have no additional impact to what it sounds like from someone who lives there is already having challenges driving around back there. I'm just curious, want to reiterate that's the findings that they made. Because it seems like if there's already a little bit of a challenge, then maybe that adding all this space is going to be a little bit more, and just something I would like to address or revisit.
Yeah, the recommendation is that there will be a bulb out provided at the intersection of Buena Vista and Experimental Station with some striping and signage modifications as well. And then there will also be curb bulb outs extensions up at Buena Vista and Dallins Drive, as well as some striping improvements.
But you said that was more for pedestrian safety. It does, and I apologize, I'm not exactly sure what a bulb out is. How does that help vehicle traffic?
It does, yeah, it does narrow the road. It's actually twofold. It's more of a traffic calming measure to slow vehicles down, and it also provides pedestrian safety by reducing the distance the pedestrians will need to cross. So it's dual purpose.
Okay, all right, I understand now. So there are some mitigation, but it, understood. Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Conley?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I wanted to kind of echo what Commissioner Marlowe just mentioned. I was going to mention it too, that with regard to that bulb out, which is basically helping the pedestrians, it does little for traffic. And my experience or education with traffic capacity is you can get about 1,200 cars per lane in an intersection, and if there's conflicting moves, there may be a need for a signal or some type of device. And I can understand a traffic study saying that it isn't mitigated or necessary to mitigate that, to provide that. But if this development provides a half a cup of that requirement, and another development brings it to 3/4 of a cup, and another development brings it to a full cup where it's required, who pays for the mitigation? Is there a partial mitigation fee for a future improvement to improve capacity?
Well, right now, we don't, there isn't a intersection control that is warranted at Buena Vista and Experimental Station. There isn't any sort of planned city project in the future there. So if there's a project in the future where off-site mitigation that generates enough traffic to warrant additional intersection control at that time, then they would be conditioned to provide, the traffic signal or roundabout or whatever is proposed or warranted at that time.
Yeah, but my point is that you've already gotten a percentage of that additional traffic with each improvement. And so I don't know if the city has some type of future mitigation, proportional mitigation based on traffic impacts for that development on the city streets nearby for future improvements. And I don't want to belabor this point, but it's just something to consider, that as each development comes in, there be some consideration of the cumulative impacts of those developments.
Understood. And in our circulation element, and through our traffic impact fees, we do have city projects throughout the city that we do require projects to pay their proportional fair share. However, at this location, it has not been identified that this would be a future concern.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Roden, did you have something?
Yeah, just, I have the same concern. What you're talking about in this addition actually is for pedestrian to slow traffic. It restricts the flow of traffic, as I understand it. It's not going to help increase the flow of traffic. I think that's where all of our concern lies with the addition of more traffic, is that we don't need more restriction, we need more flow. So that is a concern of mine, that with the addition of the conference center and the hotel expansion, et cetera, that we're not going to provide for proper flow of traffic. And I don't want to wait until it becomes a problem. I'd like to see it being a condition of each phase, as my commissioner to the left suggested, that there be kick-ins with the increase of flow of traffic. I don't want this thing to be completely developed out, which I love the project, but we've gotten behind the 8 ball with this before. And so I'd like to see something that increases the flow of traffic, the ability for people to get around and out to the stoplights, versus restrictive.
Commissioner Neal?
I think, and hopefully my, the planning department will correct me if I'm incorrect, but the difficulty is that CEQA, the traffic analysis that was done did not raise the impact to a level of significance. And so it's hard to require, based on the CEQA documents, a mitigation when the project does not raise it to a level of significant, and I don't think we can require that mitigation. So I think the difficulty is that based on our traffic analysis, and the number of new vehicle trips is 1,432 a day. Seems like a big number, but realistically it's not. And it includes 105 additional AM peak and 138 PM peak. So though it feels like big numbers, they really aren't. And I think the streets, based on what the traffic analysis says, are designed to handle that traffic volume. So I don't believe as a commission or as the city, we can force a mitigation measure on this if it doesn't rise to the level of significance.
Thank you, Commissioner. Leslie, was there any other comment regarding that comment, or Warren?
So I think, my understanding of the concern is it's basically trying to make the left turn out of Experimental toward 46, which is across Buena Vista, which is an arterial road. So there, in the circulation element, as Leslie said, we've analyzed the build out of this area. And there's no warrant to put either a 4-way stop or another signal light there just to accommodate that one turn movement out of Experimental Station. We know there's issues with Experimental Station. It's a long cul-de-sac. It doesn't meet any city standards. This project actually will contribute to the long-term fix to that. Over here, they are required to dedicate an easement for a future road that would actually provide an additional connection to Experimental that would basically allow another way out of that neighborhood. That really is the long-term fix to that. That would be dependent on development, some sort of rezoning happening on some of these large lot parcels in the future. But when and if that ever happens, this project will provide that route where a secondary access in and out of this neighborhood. And that's really the ultimate fix to this issue.
Just for clarity, if for whatever reason the applicant were to come back to us and say for the fourplex villas, wanted to come in and ask for a lot split, create a separate parcel, they would also then have to make sure, one, it's not landlocked, and so then they would have to then create access, inflow, outflow for that specific parcel that they're trying to gain as a split, correct? And that would be the case for anything they would try to split.
Yeah, if they come back, I think, probably they're not going to create individual lots. What they're going to create is, airspace condos over the villa units. And it basically, I think, it's going to end up being actually a commercial condo because these aren't residential units. Kind of more of a timeshare kind of process. I mean, they do have to provide access. That'll be part of it. And that'll be part of the analysis when and if it comes back to the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you for that. Commissioner Christensen?
Thank you. I appreciate that explanation, Warren. I think, again, to reiterate, my concern was primarily with the events and the parking plan and traffic flow plan. I think it's great that the city is going to revisit that and be able to take a look at that, because I think that's really when the impact is outside the scope of the traffic activity that's presented. If you have a wedding, you have conference, you have another event there. I mean, it's a great facility. It's beautiful and it's wonderful, and I hope that it's successful, and I'm sure it will be. But you could imagine if you have multiple events going on, I don't think the traffic study took that into account. So that's why I think the traffic plan and having the city, as already is as suggested, look at that and be able to revisit that and be able to go over that and try and help the applicant mitigate that issue so that they can have those wonderful events and control the flow around the property. I think that's really important, and I think that that's what I'm really trying to get at, is that I think that that plan is going to be essential and very important for this, especially as all phases become built out. And that's something I just wanted to make sure I commented on so that people understood where I'm coming from on this. That, to me, is going to be an essential part of this. And I think staff has a lot of skill and capability of making sure that the way the traffic flows in and out of the property, especially for those large events, can be managed, kind of like they've been doing in some other facilities around town. So to me, that was a big concern, and I like the idea that they are going to be able to revisit it and work with the applicant to come up with a solution that's going to work for that neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments, questions? Commissioner Neal?
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir.
I need to make 4 motions.
Yes, sir.
As it looks. So my first motion is recommend the City Council adopt Resolution PC 26XXXA to recommend the City Council approve an addendum to the mitigated negative declaration.
I'll second that.
Warren, we got it first by Commissioner Neal, seconded by Commissioner Conley. Roll call.
Commissioner Neal?
Aye.
Commissioner Connolly?
Aye.
Commissioner Roden?
Aye.
Commissioner Marlowe? Commissioner Christensen?
Aye.
Chairperson Covarrubias?
Aye.
Resolution A passes 6-0.
And now for letter B, adopting Resolution PC 26XXXB to recommend the City Council approve the general plan amendment and specific plan amendment.
Got a first. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Got a second. So we've got a first by Commissioner Neal, seconded by Commissioner Marlowe.
Commissioner Neal?
Aye.
Commissioner Marlowe?
Aye.
Commissioner Roden?
Aye.
Commissioner Connolly?
Aye.
Commissioner Christensen?
Aye.
Chairperson Covarrubias?
Aye.
Resolution B passes 6-0.
I would like to make a recommendation that the City Council adopt Resolution PC 26XXC to recommend the City Council approve an ordinance rezoning the site.
I'll second that.
We've got a first by Commissioner Neal, seconded by Commissioner Marlowe. Roll call.
Commissioner Neal?
Aye.
Commissioner Marlowe?
Aye.
Commissioner Roden?
Aye.
Commissioner Connolly?
Aye.
Commissioner Christensen?
Aye.
Chairperson Covarrubias?
Aye.
Resolution C passes 6-0.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution PC 26XXXD to recommend the City Council approve the development plan and conditional use permit for the project.
I'll second that.
We've got a first by Commissioner Neal, seconded by Commissioner Marlowe. Roll call.
Commissioner Neal?
Aye.
Commissioner Marlowe?
Aye.
Commissioner Roden?
Aye.
Commissioner Connolly?
Aye.
Commissioner Christensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Covarrubias?
Aye.
Resolution D passes 6-0. These are recommendations to City Council, so this will all be forwarded to City Council for final decisions.
Thank you. Darren, thank you. Tom, Douglas, congratulations. Thank you. Okay, then moving on to discussion items. First thing on there, consent calendar for the January 27th Planning Commission minutes and the February 10th Planning Commission minutes. Any changes, corrections? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I move that we accept the minutes for January 27th Planning Commission meeting and February 10th Planning Commission meeting.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
We've got a first by Commissioner Connolly, seconded by Commissioner Marlowe. Roll call.
Commissioner Connolly?
Aye.
Commissioner Marlowe?
Aye.
Commissioner Roden?
Aye.
Commissioner Neal?
Aye.
Commissioner Christensen?
Aye.
Chairperson Covarrubias?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
All right. Other reports, Housing Constraints and Opportunities Committee.
Yeah, the Housing Constraints Committee met on February 12th 2 weeks ago. The main thing they were looking at was an update to the city's development fees. Those are the fees we charge basically to recover the cost of staff time spent on development projects. So they had some comments. In general, they recommended the council approve the updates to the fees. They asked for some additional information. That'll be presented at the city council meeting. Right now, that's tentatively scheduled for March 17th for consideration and action by council.
Thank you for that. Any changes, comments, requests for the rotation schedule for DRC? Nope, seeing none. Any planning commissioner comments? Is that yes, Commissioner Conley?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. This will be my last meeting as a planning commissioner, unless I decide to re-up for another 3 years from now or whatever. But I just wanted to say I love the city. I like the way it's developing. I like the planning staff and the staff directions that we're going as far as street improvements, corridor improvements, zoning improvements with regard to certain districts. I think the city's on the right track. I love the city and the way it's developing, and I think it's becoming the city in San Luis Obispo County that people want to go to because of all the efforts that you guys are making. And I've learned a lot from you guys from 3 years ago. I've enjoyed working with all of you, and I want to thank you for that.
Well, I will say, Commissioner Connolly, it's been a pleasure, and it's hard to believe 3 years have passed that quick. It just gets faster and faster, but thank you. I think people tend to forget this is a volunteer situation, and it's one thing to do it for one session, but those that continue to do it, it's amazing to me. But anyways,
I would
thank you.
I would like to add that I'm kind of changing directions in my life. It's, so I want to travel more. I want to do things that I couldn't put the attention I need to for another term. So that's the reason I didn't re-up.
Understood. Commissioner Roden, did you have a comment?
And I want to thank you for all your support and knowledge and being my left-hand man here. And congratulations on your upcoming nuptials.
Yes. Yeah.
And you and your bride enjoy your life.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you for that. I know we have a joint meeting coming up. You'll probably address that in the staff part. Just want to let you know so I don't forget. Unless something changes, I don't believe I'll be able to attend. I'm trying to move my calendar around, but so there's a chance, but at this point, it doesn't look like it's a go. All right, any other planning commissioner comments? Oh,
No, go for it, Eric. Well, I was going to say, I think this is maybe your last meeting as chair, so I think you did a great job, unless we decide, you want to do it again another year. So.
I believe Commissioner Marlowe, aren't you up next?
Well, we'll see. You guys got to decide that at the dinner, but I want to say you did a hell of a job, and you ran some quick meetings, efficient.
Yeah, I was hoping that would, no, I knew that wasn't going to be the case today. Commissioner Nill, do you have a comment?
I just wanted to make a couple of comments. One, that the HCOC meeting was a great meeting, and I thought everybody contributed a lot to the discussion, and we had a very good discussion at that meeting about the proposed increases in, if they're needed, in fees. And it was nice to see that Paso Robles was doing something that many cities do not, and that's a deposit-based fee instead of just a standard fee. So if you don't need it all, you get it back. So that was a great thing to understand for the city, and it's there's very few cities in the county that are doing it, and I think we may be the only one that is doing it, and that's great news. And then additionally, I'd like to thank Commissioner Connolly for his time on the commission, and I appreciated him being on the commission, and I would like to suggest that maybe he adjourn his last meeting.
Ah, I love it.
Okay, I move unless there's...
No, we're not done yet.
Oh.
We're not done yet.
Only I could be that fast.
Not done yet.
I'm here for the comedy.
Yeah, not done yet, but I believe Commissioner Christensen had a comment to make.
Yeah, Pat, I wanted to say it was a pleasure meeting you, and I appreciate the time you put in. I know that it does take time, and so I hope you do enjoy the next 3 years until you're back here again, probably in 3 years. I'm, joking, but hopefully you do come back, and I think the city can always use someone like you. As for our record-setting chairperson, Chairperson Covarrubias, yes, wonderful job, and thank you again for doing it. I know it's not an easy job, so thank you.
I appreciate that. All right, any other commissioner comments? All right, we're going to move it on then to staff comments.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the council has appointed some commissioners. So Commissioner Christensen was reappointed for another 3 years. Congratulations. Commissioner Marlowe, also reappointed for an additional 3 years. Congratulations. And we have a new member, Ashley Lorenz. She was in the audience earlier. She's been appointed to replace Commissioner Connolly. So we'll be doing the reorganization dinner Sunday night. And I'll turn it over to Marcy to remind us exactly when to show up and where.
So we will be at Calcos Patina Room Sunday at 6 p.m. And the agenda for that will be posted tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think as Commissioner Marlowe or Christensen mentioned, we'll be electing new chair and vice chair at that meeting. We'll be kind of celebrating outgoing commissioners, although Pat, you're not going to be there, right? Okay, but we'll say some nice stuff about you.
As far as you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have something better to do.
Yeah, we'll work that out. So that's good, so we'll do that. And then, as you mentioned, there's a special joint session, Planning Commission, City Council, Airport Commission meeting coming up next week. So that's Wednesday, which is March 4th. It's going to be here in the Norris Room. I believe it starts at 6 p.m. They're working on getting the agendas out on that. So, hopefully all the commissioners can come. I think it's mainly an informational session. It's good to just kind of hear what the thoughts are. The council's, got to make some big decisions on deciding the path forward on that project. So I think they want everybody to hear that discussion. But if somebody can't make it, that's understood as well. Let's see, Planning Commission Academy is also coming up.
Yeah, so Planning Commission Academy is March 11th through the 13th. We have Commissioner Christensen, Commissioner Marlowe, and then our new Commissioner Lorenz, who will all be attending. I'll have your guys' travel packets ready about mid next week. I'll let you know when you can come by and pick them up. And when you come by, you can visit us upstairs in the newly renovated City Hall.
That's right. Yes, City Hall's been renovated, so we'll be moving DRC back there hopefully fairly soon, but looks really nice. I know Commissioner Marlowe had something to do with that, but it turned out great. Everybody's really happy with that. So some updates on projects. So at your last meeting, you recall that you approved that pool at the ravine, that amendment to that project. We did receive an appeal to that this afternoon. So that will then kick that decision up to the city council. We're not sure what the date is on that yet, but that will be going to council for final decision. We've got a sign code update that'll be on the 310 agenda. That looks like it's going to be a fairly light agenda at this point. March 24th, there's some changes that came out of the food truck ad hoc that need to come back through for zone changes. So we've tentatively got that scheduled for Planning Commission consideration. We also have the townhouse project on Ardmore that's been through DRC. That looks like that'll probably be ready on the 24th. That's going to be a rezone. That's a recommendation to council. Avalon Apartments, so we talked about just north of the youth center that you just looked at, the old Avalon Motel site. The property owners have been working on a hotel project, or not a hotel, apartment building project for a number of years on that. That's been through DRC. We do expect that's going to be ready for consideration. And then finally, the landing project, the boys' school project. We're getting very, very close to final conditions of approval and development agreement points on that. My guess is that's going to be ready sometime in May for Planning Commission is kind of my hunch. So just don't be surprised if that finally gets on your agenda. That will be a big project for you. And I think that update concludes staff's report.
Thank you, Warren. Okay. If there are no other comments or questions, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we I move that we, I move that we conclude the meeting.
Okay, good enough. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Adjourned. The word I was looking for, adjourned.